Hey guys, Ambience here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to beat Parts and Service in FNaF VR Help Wanted. If it wasn't obvious, this is going to be a bit of a weird guide. These segments primarily consist of HandUnit telling you exactly what to do, so I was initially thinking that a guide wouldn't be needed here, but fortunately for me on my monthly income, it turns out that HandUnit is a lying bastard. There's a surprising amount of stuff that's either left out or horribly explained on purpose that can get you killed if you're not careful. As such, I've decided to do a quick guide for all 4 repair sections and their blacklight counterparts, just to clear up any confusion you may have and mention a few additional things here and there. This is mainly just for those who got stuck or don't feel like trial and erroring your way through, because trust me, I get that, these sections can be pretty tense, especially if you're in VR like me. Anyway, let's get straight to it and repair the first animatronic on our list, which is Bonnie. This guy isn't too bad, the repair is pretty short and mostly straightforward, but there's a few minor things that can trip you up. First, HandUnit will ask you to remove Bonnie's eyes and put them in cleaning receptacles. You're instructed to start with his left eye, which is great, just one small issue: HandUnit has more trouble telling left from right than an American redneck analyzing British politics. Basically, he doesn't bother to specify whether he means your left or Bonnie's. Spoiler alert, he means Bonnie's. Remove Bonnie's left eye from your right and place it in the receptacle on your left side. Now do the opposite. Remove Bonnie's right eye, again on your left side, and drop it into the receptacle on your right. That's pretty much the only kind of confusing part. Press the 2 buttons on either side of Bonnie's jaw and open up his faceplate. Mind the mini jump scare. Press the blinking buttons in Bonnie's mouth to play each note on his guitar from left to right while the button flashes colors. Count the notes as they play, one will be noticeably out of tune.
Press the colored button that corresponds to the incorrect note.
Adjust the corresponding string and hit the button again, and if you got it right, you can move on. Replace Bonnie's eyes in the same order you removed them, meaning the eye from the left receptacle goes on Bonnie's left, your right side, and then vice versa. Really easy, just made slightly confusing by HandUnit.
That concludes your Parts and Services task. See you next time.
The blacklight version is pretty much identical with no actual changes to the repair. However, distorted music, flashing lights, and a different color scheme will be present, which try to distract you and make it more difficult to tune the guitar. Just block out the noise and repeat the steps and you're good to go. Well, time to de-pizzafy our favorite chicken. Chica is also very easy. If you're planning to grind for all the prizes later, I'd actually recommend just quickly completing this level over and over. That's what I did. Anyway, remove the 3 slices of pizza from Chica's head, chest, and left leg and toss them in the trash bin on your right. Similar to Bonnie, you'll need to open up Chica's beak by pressing the 2 buttons on her head. Hope you're not afraid of bugs, because several roaches will start crawling around. Press the button on the bottom of the chemi spray on your left to clear them out. Take Chica's arm from your left side and reattach it to her, then put the cupcake plate on her hand and spray the chemicals again. At this point, the cupcake will hop off of Chica's plate and start running around. It'll stop sometimes to jump up and down. When it does, grab it and return it to the plate as quickly as you can. This is the only part that's even somewhat tricky, because the cupcake can sometimes be pretty annoying to catch in VR. Still, you should be able to get it done with minimal trouble, so take a slice of pizza for your troubles once the box opens.
Delicious. See you next time.
Nightmare mode, once again, doesn't change much, but there are a few things to point out. Aside from Nightmare Cupcake now being present, giant roaches will circle you at all times. Isn't that wonderful? They have no effect on gameplay though, so the only really notable change is that the chemi spray won't work after the first usage, so you've got to pick the roaches off by hand while chasing the cupcake around. Slightly more difficult and super creepy, but still no big deal. Freddy's up next, and while he's not particularly difficult either, he does require a bit more precision. Your goal is to remove various items from him, starting with the child's hat stuck in his mouth. Wonder how that got there. It'll take 2 big tugs, just make sure not to go too fast and drop the hat by accident, because he won't like that. Drop the hat in the lost and found bin directly on your right, then pull on his bow tie to open his chest. Grab the watch next, it's on the left side of Freddy's chest, well, technically his right, your left, not trying to confuse you, it doesn't matter here anyway. Drop the watch in lost and found, just like the shoe, and one more thing, make sure not to touch any of Freddy's wiring when you reach in there. On flat mode, this just means waiting for the pendulum to be out of the way, but in VR, this means not touching any of the stuff surrounding the watch either. Oh, and wait a second to grab the watch after opening the chest. Sometimes if you try to get it too quick, then Freddy will just kill you. The game probably thinks you're trying to pull the watch through his chest or something, so just wait for the chest plate to stop moving. Okay, now that that's done, grab the music box out of Freddy on the bottom right and put it on the work table to your left. Make sure not to drop it in the lost and found bin, or in general, actually. Freddy's not a fan of that either. Make sure to put it in a distinct spot on the table where you'll remember it and not confuse it for another music box. You'll see why in a second. Press the red button in the center of Freddy's chest to reset the latch, then grab the shoe from the same place where you took the music box. Drop it in Lost and Found, then take the music box and put it back where it was. Again, make sure you grab the one you took out and not a spare one. No matter what you do, it'll be dropped when you try to put it in, so take a spare one and use it instead. In VR, you'll drop the box if you try to move too fast, so take it nice and slow and don't panic. Ease it toward the chest at a consistent and calm pace. If you drop it, take another and try again. Freddy will attack if you take too long, but you have more time than you might think. After you've averted the crisis, as HandUnit would say, give Freddy a nice boop on the nose for old time's sake. Just make sure not to do that before you finish the repair or, well, you're dead.
That concludes your time in Parts and Service. Your pay will be docked accordingly.
Keeping with the theme, blacklight mode barely changes anything. Seems like Steelwool was kinda running out of ideas at points and just put some blacklight levels here for consistency's sake, eh? It's darker, harder to see, and sometimes Freddles will pop out of nowhere and start having a seizure to try and scare the bejesus out of you. Otherwise, there's zero difference. Maybe turn up your brightness if that's an option and you're having trouble seeing everything, but you should be fine regardless. Just repeat the steps, and once again, you're good to go. Finally, your last job is to repair good old Foxy, who may be known to some older viewers as the bane of my existence after a certain livestream a while back. If you know, then you know. First things first, take Foxy's head from the table on your left and put it back on. Around this point, HandUnit will tell you to keep an eye on Foxy at all times. You might think that this is more false info or some sort of myth just to keep you on your toes, which is actually what I thought at first, but I checked and it actually is a real possibility apparently. Granted, you pretty much have to look straight in the opposite direction for a wall to trigger it, but it can happen after HandUnit makes you aware of it. So yeah, don't go AFK while turned around, I guess, but otherwise you should be fine. It's pretty exaggerated. Back to the repair, open drawer number 1 and grab the fuse matching the slot in Foxy's leg. Take an extra moment to make sure you have the correct one if needed, especially if you're colorblind like me. Make sure the top, middle, and bottom all match up properly. The colors will never be inverted or anything like that. Make sure to implement the fuse when Foxy's legs aren't moving. I like to wait until they've just finished moving so that you can be confident they won't start again immediately. Also, make sure that you don't drop any correct fuse by accident. Apparently you can drop incorrect ones though, despite what the wiki says, at least on flat mode. Next, take the fuse from the center of Foxy's chest and put it into the slot on his arm. Then open drawers 2 and 4 and find the matching fuses for the slots on his inner and outer chest. It's random which drawer has which fuse, but there will always be one correct fuse in each drawer. Remember to wait until Foxy's chest has just stopped moving to insert the fuses. Also, if you're on flat mode, it's worth noting that this level is pretty jank and you may have to restart sometimes, as fuses will just be seemingly unreachable occasionally. If you can't bring it to the front by dropping other fuses or opening and closing the drawers, then you should probably just restart since it's a short level anyway. There might be some other clever way around this, but I haven't really figured it out yet. Finally, open drawer 3 and pick up the yellow eye. It should always be the one furthest on the left in the drawer. Put it into Foxy's eye socket when his eye patch flips open, and that's it.
This concludes all your parts and service tasks. Pirate Cove can now be reopened.
Once again, blacklight mode seems scary, but the changes are relatively minor. You might have to go a bit slower and think through your actions more, as the fuses will now flash different colors. The color pattern that it stays the longest is always the true one. The pattern that it only flicks to for a second is always the fake one. Make sure it matches up and then repeat the process, leg fuse first, then put inner chest fuse and arm, then grab inner and outer chest fuses, then grab the yellow eye that's furthest on the left of drawer number 3. The drawers will be mislabeled, by the way, and the eyes will just be glowing brightly with smudges. The correct one has no smudges, but like I said, you can just grab the one on the left anyway. As for the drawers, just remember that drawer 1 is top right, 2 is bottom right, 3 is top left, and 4 is bottom left. Honestly, kind of laughable overall. There's basically no difference, it's just there to add more levels and seem intimidating. Well, that is all for now. Follow the strategy and you should be able to beat all of the parts and service levels with no real issues. I think this mode is usually seen as very easy, but really janky at times, especially on flat mode. Have you ever encountered any absurd glitches here? Because I know I have. Let me know in the comments. Speaking of which, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you'd like updates on what I'm doing next, feel free to join the Discord server for all the latest on upcoming content, a chance to just chill with other FNaF fans, or to get help on a night that you're struggling with. If you enjoyed this guide and you'd like to see more, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel to show your support. I know it's the classic YouTuber plug, but it really does help me out. We're just about to hit 30k, so help me get past that milestone and I'll try and get as many videos as I can out soon. With that being said, thank you guys for watching this guide, I hope it helped you, and I will see you in the next one.